evening, friends. You are in for a wonderful treat tonight. We have got a loaded episode. I'm joined by my beautiful co-host, the Miss Harley Johnson. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on for another episode.
Hey, we're glad you're on here with us. And up there in the heart of Detroit, Rock City, we got my boy, Ace Spence. What's going on, buddy?
Dude, what's going on? I'm super excited for this episode.
Yeah, this is going to be one for the ages. This is going to be a good episode, y'all. Our guest tonight is a member of the Monster Truck Hall of Fame. He is also a man who broke the mold in 3D character bodies from that team out of St. Louis, Missouri. Also a man who gave that big blue team a run for their money each and every race they competed at. He is known as his government name as Gene Patterson, but y'all know him as Colt Cobra. My man, what's going on?
Mic drop. We just need to leave now. We're done with this.
Well, Gene, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm truly honored that you decided to hop on our show with us, and we're just going to get down to it. I'm going to ask you some questions. First of all,
Sure.
how are you doing? How's the family doing since last year, the pandemic? How's things been up there in Jeff City?
Actually, we're doing well. My oldest daughter moved out in December, but I was deemed an essential worker. I'm a sheet metal worker by trade now, Local 36. I think I mentioned that when you and I was in Kansas City together. And we kind of had a few weeks in March, right when towards the end, that it just kind of slowed up a little bit, but we probably had one of our best years in the 30 years in business. Is probably rates up there in the top 10. I mean,
Okay.
we've slammed. We currently have about 75 to 80 people on our payroll, and we're constantly looking for others.
You're a union worker, right?
Working on it. Yes, I am. Local 36 sheet metal worker.
All right. That's what I'm talking about. Well, I got a question for you. So you were inducted into the Monster Truck Hall of Fame in 2015. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So what did it mean
Yes.
to you to get inducted into the Hall of Fame? Is that just a lifelong journey of yours to get there? What does that mean to you in your career?
Well, the Hall of Fame itself, I guess when it was first being talked about, and you've run around in the circles, but I mean, with the monster truck industry, there were so many things going on at all times. People would call you up and say, "Hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Hey, will you be a part of it?" And I took the Hall of Fame really lightly when I started hearing about it, and I really didn't follow it that much on social media. Of course, now it's a lot larger, but back then, 10 years ago, it didn't really seem like it was that much of a deal. So the second year, Donnie Van Loo and myself decided to make the drive up there. And then once we walked through the doors, I was literally shocked. I've seen a tremendous amount of old faces, young faces. And at the start, there really wasn't that much fan, I guess you could say, like people coming. It was more or less just all the drivers, crew guys, and everybody we worked with over the years. So I didn't really think that I would ever get inducted in. I mean, I knew I made some pretty good marks on my career, good and bad. So I guess in 2015, we went to the Indianapolis Jamboree, and that was the first time I'd been there in a long time, probably 20 years. And my son Justin went with me, and then that's when they made an announcement. And then I knew that it was pretty big deal at that time.
That's absolutely incredible. So my name is Austin Spence, the other Austin, the other good-looking one. So I was also at that this big parade that recently just happened in Butler, Indiana. The Monsters invade Butler, and I didn't realize till afterwards that you were there. So I'm a little bit new to learning more about the history of monster trucks. I was born in '95. So what does it mean about moving to this new location? Like, what does this mean to the legacy of the monster truck industry?
Well, and going back to the other Austin, the fact that you get nominated, just to get on the nominating, I guess, protocol, I was on the committee 2 years in a row to nominate different drivers, and there's a complete set of rules that should be followed, and for the most part they are, as far as like when they first got into the sport, what they've done to contribute to the sport, what they're doing to continue. So it's really a big deal. But the fact that you get voted in by your former colleagues and your peers, that's where it really starts hitting close to home. And over the last 10 years, we and I use that term loosely, the Monster Truck Hall of Fame was renting a building there in Auburn, which was a massive building. And we felt like we were getting kind of pushed around quite a bit. And one of the new owners that came in, they had a different vision from what we had. So Jeff Cook and his team started looking around for a new place. And lo and behold, one showed up in Butler. And even though it's kind of like going from Walmart to Dollar General, the Dollar General now is ours. So with this building, we'll be able to do what we want to do, make it the way we want to do it. When we add on, we'll be able to do, and you don't have to sit there and go through so many committees to try to make things change. The changes that you will start seeing are going to be all for the museum and for the monster trucks in general. And it was just an awesome experience Saturday. And I'm sure because you were there, Austin, which I can't believe we didn't see each other, but driving into town in that 2.5 mile parade, it brought back so many memories of way back whenever we used to bring the trucks into the arenas and see the fan support. And I think it's really there. And I think it's only going to get bigger.
So with getting into the new building, I don't know anything about purchasing a commercial building, but I've heard it's been tough to, I guess, buy a building. I guess, did y'all have to go through a rezoning process to make all that happen? Is this a long time in the making?
No, it was a former Eagles Lodge that had sat vacant for a couple of years. So those people are familiar, of course it had bingo rooms that they used to do, and they had meetings. So ideally what we want to try to do, and what Jeff Cook and his team are going to do, it has a full kitchen, a commercial kitchen that we'll be able to rent it out when we're not doing our induction ceremonies. So if you want to hold a birthday party, then there just happens to be 8 or 10 monster trucks in there, or if you want to do safety meetings or all sorts of that, we'll be able to collect the revenue off of it. Whereas before, we were the ones paying the revenue to the other building, and we weren't able to do that. So it's only going to get better from here on out. We thought where we were at before was going to be a long term. We had a great relationship, but over the last 2 years, it seemed to kind of falter out, because I wish you could have seen the other building. It is really, really massive. And it was built so huge for back in the day. I mean, it's probably 20 years old also. But I mean, it's a typical, it just sits out in the middle of a field in Auburn. But Auburn, you get lost because there's so many other museums in that town too. I mean, the whole capital of that area in that county, they have the most museums per capita. So we felt like we needed to distance ourselves, and we think this is the right move.
Well, switching topics a little bit here, just in case anyone doesn't know me, I'm Harley. I am not new to monster trucks whatsoever. I've been around them since I've been a baby, but being born late 90s, I wasn't really around for the whole Cobra era, I guess. I didn't know about it until I met you, Austin. So, Gene, who is Colt Cobra, and why is his character or your character so important to the monster truck industry?
Well, when Hot Wheels was developing a toy line for Bigfoot in the late 80s, they needed a bad guy truck, or villain truck that they like to talk about. In any toy market that you go to, there's always a villain. Any superhero is going to have a villain. Mm-hmm. So it's all about marketing, because when you take your small child to the store to buy, they don't want to buy, say, Batman. They want to buy Batman and the Joker. Mm-hmm. So they needed another vehicle, a vessel, and they came up with Snakebite. And we used to have Tuesday meetings in the Bigfoot office there when everybody get back into town. we'd go over videos and they started showing this drawing, that Mattel had made of this truck. And Bob was really good about getting input from everybody. And there was some of us that thought, oh, this thing's too cartoony. We're never going to pull this off. And there was others that thought, I think we can do this. And with the help of GTS fiberglass, back in the day, they made the snake. It was probably about 80% to the conceptual drawing that Mattel put out. We were on our way to Memphis, Tennessee, because there wasn't social media back then, and you had to just do it in the magazines. And Andy and myself are driving down the highway in the big rigs, and we're talking on the CB radio. And I know I'm really speaking my age here, but that's the way we communicated back then. And we were on an upper channel, and it was late at night because we'd worked all day getting this truck getting this body on the chassis to try to get it to this event. And I came up with the name of Colt Cobra from Cobra Creek, Colorado. And then we flipped the atlas open real fast to see if there was actually a town, and there's not. But there is a town called Copper Creek, Colorado. So that was part of our gimmick too. We'd tell everybody it's just a smaller town outside of Copper Creek. And the fans would actually look that up on the atlas and see Copper Creek. So, I mean, yeah. So when I come out of the trailer for the first photo shoot, I just put a fire retardant mask on. It was white the first show we did, not knowing that it was going to turn into what it turned into. And then the guy that airbrushed the truck up airbrushed me up another mask, and I wore it a lot. And then I was able to get by with a lot of stuff, because it's just like I had this dark side of fan base that when they started playing up about the whole snakebite Bigfoot rivalry, they wanted this Colt Cobra guy just to kick his ass. And I mean, we played it up. Andy and I played it up a ton. We shot 2 videos that went, I don't know, they were in the VHS market. They were way up there. And it was just, we were just having fun with it. We didn't know, we figured it'd be a one and done. And then the next year there was 2 snake bites. And later that year we had 3 snake bites. And pretty soon promoters were calling just to book snake bite. And Bob was like, holy crap, what did we create here? And, I like to think that going into the Hall of Fame, I was recognized as the character. And also from my driving abilities, whether they was smashing through buildings or, just basically going out and dropping Andy on the track in front of 50,000 people in Detroit.
So was Snakebite the first 3D monster truck? Is that right?
Yes, I believe it was the first 3D monster truck. Soon people started following. And during the Penda days, we were allowed to run that. There was a few other teams that were running some 3Ds. And then when Pro MT come around, they wanted to go back to conventional bodies because they thought the 3D character trucks were taking away from the sport itself. But without Penda and Trucks and Tractor Power at the time, of course, Army Armstrong and that whole gang, they played it up to huge potential and just took it really to the next level. And like I said earlier, I mean, to go in not knowing what we were doing, and we actually put the first body on a leaf spring truck, and Austin knows. I mean, it was a bucking Bronco, and we still finished, I think, 7th. We were the top leaf spring truck because everybody above me was 4-link trucks. But we were out there competing with a 14,000 pound vehicle against trucks that were hanging weight on to make 10,000 pounds.
And what chassis was that? Number 4?
That was, Bigfoot number 4.
Okay.
That's the original snakebite. Yeah, and then the next year, we really came out loaded for bear. We spanked a lot of teams pretty good. I mean, it number 9 chassis is one of my the highlight reels. That truck was just awesome. I mean, Kramer broke it in, tuned it all. We had to make a ton of changes on it, but when I got in it, that truck, it didn't matter what you threw at it. It was just badass. It was just simply badass.
So, Gene, I want to know how you got into not necessarily just the monster truck industry, but where did you develop your passion for the monster truck industry? What made you just go crazy and want to get better and want to be the best? And also, I want to, this is a two-part question. I believe that monster trucks is without a doubt the greatest sport in all of motorsports. And I want to know why you think the exact same thing.
Well, first of all, as a small kid, like a lot of kids that are, well, not now. I mean, they find everything online, but back then we had the magazines. Like I said before, when Mom would take me to the store, I would be looking at these magazines, and that's when I started seeing Bigfoot on the magazines, and I thought how cool it would be. And then I actually got to see Bob Chandler's first paid car crash right here in Jefferson City, Missouri. And he didn't go over the cars that first night, and we actually started to chant. There was a little few alcoholic beverages consumed,
Naturally.
and we were standing on the pit wall, and we started yelling out, "Bigfoot sucks! Bigfoot sucks!" And the whole crowd was cheering us. And the louder we were, the more Bob was trying to get over these cars. And I mean, he's floorboarding that truck; it's all twisted up. The front end, the front clip's all twisted, jacked out of shape, and there's a guy riding with him. And he's just laughing. He's just smiling. I'm thinking, who is that guy? Well, it turns out it was John Breen from the Mad Dog fame. And then I started seeing him around Jefferson City. He had a street truck at that time that he built. And he'd used some components. Him and Bob were really good friends. They used to go down to Lesterville together. And John and I became really good friends. And then he built a truck called Stomper Bully. And we were at a show in New Hampshire one time. And he said, that was when the TNT racing was starting up, and he just basically threw me the keys and said, "I want you to drive." And that was my dream. I was a boy from a town of 256 people, and here I am traveling across the country in it wasn't a semi. I mean, it was a dually on an open trailer, and seeing parts of the country that I didn't even know existed, but performing in front of thousands and thousands of fans each and every week. And you asked me, what was your drive in your past? You could take all your aggression out. You got to crush cars. And you don't do that now. I mean, but we got to crush cars. You go out there and you're flattening cars. I mean, it was just so, I mean, it just was just such a huge release of energy. And that's what I really liked the most back when we used to crush cars. And that's how I got started. And later on, I just worked my way into the Bigfoot team. And of course, that at that time, they were considered an elite fleet. And we had a lot of pressure on us every week. And I feel like with all the other drivers working for Bigfoot and how we critiqued each other on the Tuesday meetings, that made me a better driver. And it made the whole team better. And that's why they are in business for 45 years. That's why they continue to set the bar high. I think there's a lot more trucks out there that have reached that bar and surpassed them, but they're still the go-to people. I mean, they're the ones that basically started this whole phenomenon.
So, Gene, I would like to fast forward a little bit because you were talking briefly a little bit about Penda and kind of the four-wheel jamboree series that were on the Truck and Tractor Power, which I've actually been getting a little caught up on the '93 season where you and Brass were definitely going at it with the Dodge Boys. So I wanted to read you a statement that is from the Four-Wheel Jamboree organization. I want your thoughts. It says, we will have some woman comment said so that there would be no monster trucks or tough trucks in the Four-Wheel Jamboree series. And they responded with, we will have monster trucks for people to take rides in, not just not competition. We introduced mega trucks last year at our event and got a great response. Mega trucks are essentially lighter and more powerful monster trucks with smaller tires, and has evidence last year they put on a great show. So my question to you is, in watching your history in the Four-Wheel Jamboree series, and that was to me the pinnacle, the gold mine of monster truck racing. I mean, big money sponsors, a lot on the line, couple of days of qualifying before the actual big event, to now there's just no monster trucks. I mean, what, coming from someone as yourself that's in the Hall of Fame and raced these tracks, and there's no longer any monster trucks. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, I too read the same article. And then the next morning, I was over at the AT&T store buying me a new phone because I literally threw my phone as hard as I could throw it. That is a slap in the monster trucks, I believe, are what made the jamborees. When the jamborees first started out, I mean, when I started in 1986 and before that, I mean, Bob and them used to go to the Marion County Fairgrounds there in Indianapolis. And back then, a lot of guys would bring their monster trucks just to show them off. They didn't really even perform. So monster trucks have been a part of the jamborees since the beginning. But in defense of, I'm not really, I think it's Bonnier. I think that's how you pronounce it. I met several of their staff members last year when we made the announcement at the Jamboree about the induction ceremony. And they went out with the COVID and you know, they took a chance and did, I think, yeah, they did do Bloomsburg, they did do Lyman, they did Indy. And they remind me of an organization that they don't really have a lot of people on the payroll, so to speak, that takes care of all this, like special events did back in the day. So they like to hire these type of events out. And I know last year they had Joey Sylvester and his team was taking care of the monster trucks. Now, I don't know if they didn't do that this year or if no one really stepped up to the plate to say, we'll take this on and do it, because it is a lot of work. There's a lot of prima donnas, myself included, back in the day. I mean, you got to take care of all these monster truck guys. You got to really cater to them. And it's upsetting. I will still go to Indianapolis because it's the bonds that you've made over the years with the friends and family that come there. Now, if they start saying we're not going to go just because of the monster trucks, then I won't be there. But I think I could kind of tell it was like second fiddle, and that's what we started out way back when I was crushing cars on TNT. The puller guys run first, and then we'd come out and we were just second fiddle. I don't think monster trucks are second fiddle. It's obvious from what you see on television now. I mean, we're our own identity. Monster trucks have become the forefront in our arena. I don't see the mega trucks taking place of us. Yes, they are very powerful, but the track they had set up in Indianapolis was so long that even the people that was with me, they watched the monster trucks come out, and it was so dusty. So then they went back out into the pits with the show trucks, and they texted me and said, when the monster trucks get ready to run again, just call us. And the whole show was so long that it was, in my opinion, it lost the crowd appeal. You know, I mean, it wasn't, the monster trucks just performed like for a few minutes, and then the mega trucks ran for like 45 minutes to an hour, and people lose interest. I don't know where they're getting their information from, but I know I didn't take part in the poll. Let's just leave it like that. So honestly, I'm not a huge fan of it, no means.
Honestly, I think monster trucks will come back to the Jamborees. It's just a matter of time. They want to try something different. But monster trucks is obviously, like you said, Gene, that's what made the Jamborees. Gene, so you and I met a few years ago in Independence, Missouri at a small, toughest monster truck tour show. You were slithering around in the back, you know, like you normally do, and we got a chance to meet, and you gave me some words of encouragement, just something along the lines of, look, I know you want to do the Bigfoot thing. Everybody wants to do the Bigfoot thing, but if I'm you, taking the avenue that you're able to go do Monster Jam, go see what they got to offer for you. You're going to learn from a lot of really good people, and I took Gene's advice, and the things I was able to do in that amount of time are incredible. Gene, I got to go to Brazil, Argentina, 3 different states in South Africa. I was able to be a part of winning a tour championship. I got my bride-to-be over here because of going down to Monster Jam. I've got my best buddy on the other line with us. And, you know, a lot came from that. So that's, I guess, my, you know, monster truck career summed up for you. I want to know, what's some of the highlights of your monster truck career? What's some of your greatest or your favorite accomplishments? But also, do you have any regrets because of your monster truck career, maybe being on the road for so long, or just something maybe you wish you could have done differently at the time?
Well, first of all, apparently after you took my advice, you must have lost my address, because I'm not seeing any royalty checks come for this. My regrets, probably one of my biggest regrets would have been, I set the bar high for myself. But I put myself out there on a pedestal and really forgot who I was as a person. And regretfully, I had to be brought back down to earth a couple times. And once I got back down to earth and really remembered what it was all about, then that made me, I feel like a better person. Some of the highlights: winning at Indianapolis, winning Indianapolis twice. Once on the outdoor series, driving Bigfoot in the rain. Indianapolis is considered the racing capital of the world, whether it's drag racing for the U.S. Nationals, the Indy 500. There's tons of racing history related to Indianapolis. And when I won there and when I took snakebite, when we went to the Hoosier Dome, the late Hoosier Dome, which is where Lucas Stadium's at now, and we went into that last event, and for 2 years in a row, we went into that last event, and I think I was either sitting in third or fourth place in the points, because Andy usually got the best equipment, the top-notch stuff. That was just the way we did it. The Ford team had to win, that we were winning for our sponsors. So, Bob would always say, it's no pressure on you, but I would like to win. I'd like to be number one and number two. And he goes, you have to beat Fred. And like you said earlier about the Dodge boys, how tough they were. And I went into the Hoosier Dome. I'm pretty sure I was sitting in like third place or something. I had to win it all. And I had number 9, and it was just a rocket ship. And basically when I left the line for the finals, I had to let off the throttle for the front end to set down. It was hooking so hard. And I still have that tape from Diamond P Motorsports, and I watch it. And I mean, there's just no words to describe the feeling of winning on that stage. And looking back now, some of the other things that really make me very proud of is what you said. I've had a lot of people come up that have went to work for Monster Jam, including some of their really key drivers. One of them being Cody Saucier. I mean, he said he saw me as snakebite, and he told his mom that he wanted to be like me. And look what he's done for himself. So that means to me that I did something right along the way. And being gone from my family, my first family paid the price. My second family, my wife actually got to go on the road a lot with me. She worked at Bigfoot too, and she'd help do product. And she taught me quite a bit, especially with the fans, how to be personal, how to be active with the fans when you're signing autographs, take the time. And I see that in Tom Mintz. He takes a lot of time when he does autographs. She said one day to me, without those fans there, you're not going to have a job. So, because I was just making scribble marks on pieces of paper, and they pay their hard-earned money to come to these events. And if you don't take the time, you're just going to be yesterday's memory. And it's even worse now with social media. So you've got to be on your game. And I'm still as much as in love with monster trucks as I was back then. And that's probably my Achilles heel, because unfortunately I've got a real job, but man, I tell you what, just like after this weekend, it's so exhilarating to see all the old friends and to know that people come up and they bring snakebite toys, want you to sign these toys and stuff. And they remember. So I did something right. I'm still trying to figure out what it was. But it'll eventually come around. I know. Bob and Jim were just fantastic people to work for at Bigfoot. They really molded me into something else. And when I gave you that advice, it was from the heart, Austin. It really was. I felt that I could tell your passion too, but I felt that would be your best opportunity to advance yourself and work with so many different teams. And they were traveling a lot too. So, I mean, do it while you're young, because when you get to the point like, well, look, this what happened this last year. I mean, there's the world's full of what ifs. Well, take it while you got it, buddy. Get on the horse and ride it. You got to take it to the stables.
So, awesome advice, by the way. That was
okay.
Sorry. So looking at some of these old pictures, this is an original question I had, but like I said, I've been kind of educating myself watching some of these Penda series. And my original question was, why did you look so angry in some of these old pictures when you were racing back in the day? But Gene, you got the crap beat out of you in these trucks when you were racing. I mean, talking about the safety and what you had to keep you safe when piloting Snakebite or Bigfoot. I mean, looking at some of this footage, I thought you were going to fly out of the truck some of these hits you were taking.
Yeah. Well, the trucks have a personality, and we didn't really name them like, a lot of NASCAR people name their cars, like Rusty Wallace used to name his cars and stuff like that. But I felt like if you treated them pretty hard, they would let you know if you were crossing the line. And I used to call it like they'd give you a slap on the back of your head. I remember racing at Bloomsburg in number 10, and I was overdriving the truck. I wasn't letting the truck work to its potential. So she didn't like that. And I was landing on the other end, and that damn suspension seat that we had back then, it would just hit you in the back of the helmet, and it's just like, oh, wow, I don't want to do that no more. And it's like she's talking to you, you got to take good care of it. And yeah, I mean, hell, when I first started driving, all we had was a bench seat and a factory GM seatbelt. We didn't even start wearing helmets until they told us we had to wear them. So it was just like, I mean, you're standing them on their back bumper and you're dropping 13,000 pounds down on cars. You're smiling, but you're smiling because half your teeth just fell out.
So, Gene, you think if you were able to strap into a modern day ISP seat and get strapped in, you think you could run with the best of them still?
Racing, yes. I would love, it would take me a little bit to get back in the flow of things, but racing, I'm a racer because of the Penda days. The freestyle stuff that they do now, hats off to Adam, Ryan. I mean, those guys. Oh, I don't know. I want to go with them guys one time when they go to the convenience store and have them buy my lottery ticket, because their luck bank has got to be so huge. And I know that the ISP seats, they're like a sprint car. Some of the sprint car guys used to give me advice back when I was running around with them too, because they're sitting right over that drive shaft. And I think those ISP seats, and Tom even said it too, because we talked, I've been to his shop once, but I remember he actually came to me in Kansas City at Kemper Arena and told me when he was done mud racing, he was thinking about getting into monster trucks. And I told him, you're ate up. Why you want to do that? Well, look where he's at now. But anyway, I think it gives you a better feel. I think you stay tighter in the truck, so you're able to react faster because you can feel the chassis working. Whereas when we race with those suspension seats, I mean, it's like, they're moving up and down 4 inches. So you're trying to hold your leg straight. You're trying to brace yourself for all this. And the truck's reacting faster than you can react. So, I mean, yeah, I get claustrophobic. I did drive them off the track at three of the world finals that I attended. I was able to be down on the floor and was able to drive the trucks off after they crashed. And I got kind of claustrophobic at some of the seats. I mean, some of the guys have their headrest and everything really close to them. And it made me have to breathe a little heavier. But I think once I settled into it, I could put some of these young whippersnappers out.
All right. That's what I like to hear.
Well, going back to about this time last year is when the whole monster truck industry shut down because of the pandemic. Of course, we all love thinking about last year, right?
No.
So we really didn't see monster trucks pick back up until late last year. And then slowly as months went on, more shows were being added. Months went on, more shows being added. Gene, what do you think the pandemic has done to the monster truck industry going forward?
Well, one of the key components there is it's MJ, Monster Jam. I mean, they had the monopoly on the monster industry. Sure, a lot of the other promoters like Manson Jam, Ryan Manson, I mean, when his shows, they got hurt. Ed Backley has a lot of shows down south. MAP Motorsports. I've known Neil Darnell. His son's doing all the shows now. So Missouri has been open. I mean, we did a lot of shows. I started attending shows outdoors in July of last year here local. And I think down in Texas, and I know Florida remained open through the whole pandemic. I think the bigger buildings, they were under the gun from whatever district they were in, saying that they couldn't hold the events. Now, again, we went to the Jamboree, and they told us when we got there, they done a temperature check as we came through the gate, said, put your mask on. And there was nobody bitching or complaining about it. We all sat in our little group and barbecued and watched all the trucks running. You kind of spaced yourself apart and done your thing. You get up, go to the bathroom, you put your mask on. And I think the country as a whole, that's what we got to do. But as far as our industry, they just turn the light switch off. I mean, when you've got literally thousands of markets that you're doing shows at, and they just shut it off. And all these guys had 15, 20, 30 dates booked with Monster Jam. Now there's nothing. And the independent guys or the smaller promoters all had their trucks already picked. So it's not like you can just go start knocking people out, and taking over their shows. So I think it's helped kind of weed things out. And I know, I can't think of his name right now, from Union, Missouri, with the tailgate, Doug Nelke. He said he thought it was the right opportunity whenever that happened for them, because they were wanting to step back a little bit anyway. And when that all came on, but there's people out there that still want to buy these trucks. There's people out there that still want to race these trucks. There's people out there that want to see the trucks. So I say, hey, let's go for it. What are we waiting on? I mean, circle track racing's packed. All the stands are packed. I mean, hold your arms out to each side and say, all right, stay away from me. Let's roll, let's go. Yeah. I don't know what the holdup is.
Monster trucks are on their way back. Monster Jam had a great first quarter tour. We were able to see a couple of their shows. They were doing really good with the social distancing rules. I just think as time progresses, I think, like you said, people are going to begin to, I don't know if they're going to just care less and less, but I think we're on our way back now. I really do. After seeing those first couple of shows that we were able to go to this year, Austin Spence has got a whole schedule. He's basically got his own tour lined up for the rest of the year of all the shows he's going to be attending, and we're working on some as well. But Gene, we just want to thank you so much, my man, for joining us this evening. This has been an awesome episode, and thank you so much for joining us, sir.
It's been my pleasure. And as I always used to say back in the day, winners never quit and quitters never win. So take that advice, get your education. The Monsters will be back, Austin. You better believe it.
Damn straight.
Pull your chin straps up.
Damn straight. Well, for all y'all watching the Throttle Out Show, brought to you by Vixen Industries, we just want to say thank you for tuning in. And remember, when in doubt, throttle out. Peace out.